When I wake up in the morning, before I get out of bed, I literally tell myself that it's going to be a great day. Because it's just too easy to wake up in the morning and assess how's the day going to be. Do you notice the difference? It's very easy to wake up and say, what do I have to do today? Because some of the times you wake up and you're like, oh, God, I have so much to do today. Imagine what your day feels like when you start from that. When you wake up and you make an assessment that is not to your advantage. Even if you wake up, and anybody wake up with any aches and pains? Am I the only one? Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, even that, right? So I wake up, and yesterday I did shoulders, right, at the gym. And I woke up this morning, but before I checked to see how my body was feeling, I was like, today is an amazing day. And then I sat up and went, oh, okay. And then I remembered I did shoulders. I was like, it's just shoulders from yesterday. I do that because it's just too easy for me to slip into an energy that's not going to service me throughout the day. So that song, I Can See Clearly Now, it says, I can see clearly now, because the rain is gone. So this song actually tells you I can see clearly because all this stuff has gone away from me. But as you just shared, what about seeing clearly when it's still raining? What about seeing clearly when aspects of your life are still in disarray? What about seeing clearly no matter what's going on with your health, no matter what's going on in your relationships, no matter what's going on with your finances, no matter what's going on, good, bad, or indifferent? What about seeing clearly in those moments? What about before you can see clearly? When you're seeing things a little blurry, a little confusing, when, as you said, when life seems to just strip you naked down to the core of your being. I know that has happened for everybody in this room at some point. Is there anybody who has never had that moment where everything's just been, you are just stripped away and you're like, now what? I don't think so. I think we've all had that experience at one time or another. Some of us are lucky we've had many times. But before I can see clearly, what's that thing in the Christian church, certainly the Baptist church, they're prayed up. I've got to be prayed up before anything shows up where I need to pray about, right? And this teaching, that's what this teaching's all about. When you remember who you are, you're prayed up. You absolutely are prayed up when you remember who you are. Because then no matter what happens, what is happening to someone who knows who they are. And if I know who I am, then whatever's going on, I can see clearly. And not now, I can always see clearly, no matter what. Thank you. So, I have a question for you today. The first question I have for you all is this. Where's your focus? What are you focusing on in your life? Where is your focus? Is it on the stuff that's blurring you? Or is it on the fact that you know who you are? Do you focus from an already established premise of I know who I am? Or do you focus from an already established premise of I look to see who I am? I look to see how my life is going to go. I look to see what the odds are. How many of you play the odds of your life? I look to see whether or not this is going to work out for me or not, and make my decisions based on that. So, I have a bunch of things to look at today. Here's the first quote by Carl Jung. Your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. Right? That's exactly what you just said too. So, what are you basing your focus on? Are you focusing on what's out here? It's a challenging world that we all live in. But you know what? My parents could have said that when I was 10, that it was a challenging world they were living in. So I think we need to get over this idea that this is so different. We're just really challenged. No, it's not. And I don't mean challenging in a bad way. I mean, life will always be challenging because we are always evolving. And to evolve, we must jump over things. We must move through things. We must allow our minds to evolve, allow our lives to evolve. So, who looks outside dreams. I can dream of a better life. We can all do that. And dreaming's not bad. But who looks inside becomes awakens to what's really going on. So the focus I'm looking at today is a focus that's already perfectly aligned inside of who I am. And when I look from that, I see things differently. I feel like Carol up here singing. I feel those lyrics. I can see clearly now. Everything's done. I know who I am. I know what's possible. And I'm moving in that direction. That's what I really want to talk about today. So Henry David Thoreau said this: it's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. Right? So, what do you see right now? And I'm going to ask you to just check in on your mind. What have you been seeing? What have you allowed yourself to focus on? And what have you been seeing? Because it's not just the focus, it's what do you see once you do focus? What are you feeding your mind with? What are you expanding your awareness of life with? Are you seeing from the perspective of, I remember who I am? Or are you seeing from a fearful perspective? Are you seeing from an awkward perspective or from a disoriented perspective? What is it? And sometimes it's all of the above, yes? Sometimes it's all of that. Sometimes I'm so clear, and then sometimes I catch myself and I have to go, why am I thinking that? Or why am I afraid of that? Why am I worried about that? So, I have a friend visiting, Becky Southwell, from Portugal. And 3.5 years ago, we had dinner with them at their house here in Westlake Village, right? You were here? Agora. Same thing to me. A little closer, yes, to Studio City. And we had dinner with them. And we weren't expecting to hear what we heard at that dinner when they told us they were selling everything and moving to Portugal. And we were like, what? Why would you do that? And, their kids were, how old?
Going into grades 9 and 10.
They were going into grades 9 and 10. And they were both like, yeah, we're moving to Portugal. It's all going to work out great. And it was a little surprising to me. And I didn't have a negative feeling about it, but I was like, wow, what's that like to just... Huge leap, the big leap. What is that like to untether myself from everything and everyone I know, physically, sell everything, and move to a place I think you visited before, right? You went and looked at. Oh, you hadn't visited yet. Great. This gets even better, this story. Has not even visited yet, but they're going to Portugal. And they had their reasons, and they explained everything to us. And then, shockingly, they actually did it. I mean, it's one thing. If I had $1 for every person that told me what they were going to do and then never did it, I'd be even wealthier than I am. But they did it. They moved to Portugal. Now, we have had Zoom dinners with them, and we keep in touch with them as we go along, and I love their children. And so Becky came in with Bella, her daughter, and I was asking her how it was going, and we talked about this move. And basically what Becky said to me was, she said, I have learned in my life to really make decisions based on my intuition, not the facts. I mean, not that she doesn't look at them, we all look at them, but at the end of the day, like this quote, or the quote right before it, are you going to deal with what's in your heart, or are you going to deal with what's going on in the world around you? And basically, if you learn to see from your heart, from your intuitive knowing, you're going to make different decisions. You're going to make different choices in life if you really listen to what your heart is telling you. Now, for some people, that's difficult because you don't trust your intuition. You're not sure if what you're hearing is actually intuitively guided, or if you've really let your critical thinking mind bring all of the information into play as you're feeling what you're feeling. It's called spiritual practice. to stay in alignment with, to stay in touch with that part of you, that pure part of you that knows what to do. And that it's not listening to all of your friends. I'm sure many of your friends told you were insane, didn't they? Yeah. Was I one of them?
No.
Good. Okay. I just wanted to know if I said that.
You said it to other people.
No. No. I generally say what I mean when I mean it, to who I mean it to. Right, Tiffany? Yeah. So this intuitive thing, when we talk about focus, what are you focusing? Are you focusing a lot of crap, that doesn't count, information in your head? Are you taking all that information and then focusing it? Or are you willing to and able to put all of that aside, as I said, when you walk through this door, which is why I value this time on a Sunday. Are you able to walk through the door, put it all aside, and then listen to something in you that absolutely knows? And I was very excited to get this picture so you can all see. There's their family now in Portugal. That's the bay they live in Portugal. Isn't that beautiful? And those are those two little kids, Connie, that you raised in church. Yes. Yes. And Michelle, I don't know if you had them. They weren't in NoHo. Although the funny part is, I met them from NoHo. When I was in NoHo, Dylan was part of CSL Westlake here with Dr. Maureen. And he took mental muscle with me. And so one day, he and Becky came to NoHo to church. I remember that day that they came to visit. And it was just ironic that we then ended up here, and we all ended up together again. But I want you to look at this picture, because what this picture is a picture of, really, is an intuitive choice to change everything. The quote you talked about, I'm not afraid to change everything. Everything. Their careers, too. Everything. I mean, they were successful screenwriters, film, television writers. Dylan had an incredible career. When I first met Dylan, he was one of the actors on, what was the show we used to watch? Kevin? Arrow, the TV series Arrow. And I was like, oh my God, Dylan, Neil. It was very exciting. And he was teaching a class around the corner from us. Yes, Becky?
Can I add one thing? Because I don't want us to sound like an irresponsible...
Wait. Does anybody think this sounds irresponsible?
Decided on a whim, we did a year of research.
Yes, you did, of where to live.
The numbers over and over and over. We treated and we moved our feet, and the moving our feet was the research, and then we sat with it.
Well, I can tell you,
For like that internal knowing, and then we knew where to go now.
I could research from now till the end of my life, and it would still be difficult to do what you did, no matter what I knew. Yeah. So, this is what we're talking about today. I want you all to move. I want you all to leave this country, get out of here, move away. Just tell me where you're going so I can open up a Global 2 center nearby. That's not it at all. When I was a New York actor, I pretty much untethered myself to everything and moved to New York. My family told me, good luck. I mean, really, basically, they said, you don't have any training. You're not that great a singer, a dancer, or an actor. I mean, it's not, people there are serious. They're really professional people. That's not us. Notice the word us. That was the familial AEP. We are not, and our AEP was, we never get the breaks. I heard that my whole childhood growing up. All my aunts, my uncles, my father. We never get the breaks. Our family never gets the breaks. So I grew up with that. I untethered myself to all of that stuff and moved to New York City, where I got the breaks. Break after break after break after break. And I have to say, I moved to New York with a vision and with a real focus on who I was going to be and what I wanted to accomplish. My first spiritual education began with a man named Swami Satchidananda. How many of you remember Swami Satchidananda? Yeah, I actually met with him and sat at his feet for a couple of years, learning who I really was. My family went nuts because they were Catholic. They were Sunday Catholics and Easter Catholics, but they were Catholics. And when I started chanting and started the Buddhist training, They literally thought I had gone off the deep end, but I still stayed untethered to all of that stuff. I stuck with Swami Satchidananda until I heard Eric Butterworth speak, which was Unity. And once I heard Eric Butterworth speak at Unity, which was kind of bringing Catholicism and Buddhism into an understandable form for me, I started feeling better about who I was and what I was. And I pretty much had a very strong focus. This is what Swami Satchidananda said, and that is him. Everything begins in the mind. If you want to see clearly, you need clear vision. Everything begins in the mind. By the way, that doesn't say brain, does it? No, the brain is used by the mind. So what is the mind? Mind is consciousness. It's the infinite consciousness of the universe that moves in and through Doug Draper, individuates in this one person here, for him to use the infinite source of everything to make the decisions for his life about what is best. That's what you have. That's what is accessible to you. The infinite intelligence and wisdom of the universe moving through all of life and bringing it through into James Mellon so that I can now use all of that to make the decisions I need to make with my life. Nowhere does it say, look at everything everybody else is telling you. Now, that's going to be a part of it, because that's also consciousness, everything that's going on in the world. But which one is the one that we need to really rely on? That is our intuitive nature. That is what is inside of us. And then we take that and focus it. Okay? So, what's the vision you have for your life that is not based on everything out here? Do you even know? What vision do you have for your life that is not based on all of the yeah buts from your history? What vision could you have? What vision could you put into play for your life that is not predicated on the past or predicated on what people normally think of as normal? That doesn't seem normal, what they did. It's not normal. Most people don't do that. But when you really get clear, you can create a vision of your life completely outside of anything you've ever imagined. We need to know that. We need to believe that. And as Gabby said, we need to be teaching our children that. Because our children and our children's children are the ones that are going to be taking this truth and blowing it into the world. And there's going to come a day when your children's 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 children are going to be like, do you know that great-great-great-granny Andrea didn't know she was God until way late in her life when she met a sailor. But that's what our ancestors are going to be like, wow. Like we say, do you know they believed that the earth was flat? We all laugh at, most people, laugh at that the earth is flat. Someday people are going to be laughing and going, they didn't know who they were. They actually believed there was some guy in the sky dictating everything, and that yet they had everything they needed right inside of them. That's what's going to happen. So, Wallace Wattles said this: you cannot retain a true and clear vision if you are constantly turning your attention to opposing pictures, whether they be external or imaginary. Wallace Wattles was a great financier, knew exactly what to do with money, and knew exactly what prosperity was all about. And what he's saying here is, and I picked this picture, I thought it looked like you, Pavel, actually. I picked this picture, and I thought to myself, this is what we get caught up in. We're constantly looking back, when our job is to open up and just look forward. Everything that's behind us is there to propel us forward, not to take us back to it. So, the title of my talk today is Retrospective Embarrassment. In case you didn't get it, his back is to you, but his head's swiveled to the back, looking behind him. Just in case you didn't notice, the suit was backwards. Yes. Right? Isn't it? Laurie Savage found that. So, Retrospective Embarrassment. This title came because at Advanced Consciousness this week, Reverend Franny said that. She said, I have retrospective embarrassment about some things. I was like, what? What is that? And she said, retrospective embarrassment. I was like, oh my God, I love that. Instantly I said, that's the title of my talk on Sunday. Retrospective embarrassment. So Bella, Becky's daughter, Becky was going to show me a picture of Bella's hair when she had purple hair, was it? Pink hair. And Bella was like, no, don't show him that. Retrospective embarrassment. I have a picture of me in very tight red pants with bell bottoms with a big purple flowery shirt with a big collar from when I was in that phase. I still have those pants. I do. I wore them in my show, Sissy Boy. Remember, Connie? Yeah. But I was always so embarrassed by that picture. I was like, oh my God, how did no one even suspect I was gay? Of course, when I say that to people, they went, oh, we knew. Yeah. So retrospective embarrassment. So I want to ask you a question. What do you see when you look back at your life? Is there anything you're embarrassed about? I love that. Marty's just sitting there going, nope, not a thing. Can we all say everything that has happened in your life, every choice, every hair choice, every outfit choice, every partner choice, every career choice, every aspect of your life, there's nothing to be embarrassed about? No. Peggy's like, no. Really? Really? Anybody? Tell me something you're embarrassed about. What are you embarrassed about, Peggy? Well, I'm here to absolve you. You know, as a minister, I can absolve you because I am an ex-Catholic. Yes. And Father, Son, Holy Spirit, you're done. Yes. So, embarrassment, retrospective embarrassment. Can I just tell you what that's doing? That embarrassment has energy. It adds to your identity. It adds to what you think about yourself, whatever that was. You know what? I'm going to wear those red pants some Sunday. I actually went to put a shirt on this morning, my new ruffled shirt that I'm saving for Greece. I almost put it on this morning, and then I didn't. I'll wear it when I come back from Greece. I think it's important for us to really take a look at our lives and say, is there anything I'm still holding against myself? Because that's a focus. It takes focus away from what I want to do. Here's a quote on embarrassment by, oops, that's not it. Is it? Huh. That's odd. I think I'm missing slides. Yeah, I'm missing a bunch of slides, Swan, somehow. Okay. Okay, so I am not embarrassed in the least. Swan's not embarrassed either. Are you, Swan? Good, we'll talk. So here's the quote. It's by Anonymous. It's this. Embarrassment has a lot to do with thinking too much. How's that? Do we good with that so far? Let it go. Nobody cares as much as you think they do. It's true, right? Totally. I love that one. So here's my question to you. How quick are you letting it all go? How quickly do you let things go when you have an embarrassing moment? Or do you hold on to it? Or are you really freaked out by it? Right? And then this another one is embarrassment lasts a moment. Regret lasts a lifetime. So today I want you to really take a look at any regrets you have in your life and make sure that those regrets are not what's focusing your life forward. Make sure that the embarrassment, that retrospective embarrassment from the past, is not still in play as you are moving forward. You should not care about anything that has happened up to this point. You've learned, you know, there's nothing more to learn from it. We've already figured out what we did, why we did it, and we need to be good with it. So, I think this is the next quote now. Arthur Miller. The best work that anybody ever writes is the work that is on the verge of embarrassing him. Always. Yes. I thought that'd be good for you, Becky. Right? And so for we writers, my musical, it starts rehearsals today at 2:00 for the next presentation of this time for a huge audience, for a theater that will maybe be the theater that does the world premiere. And I wrote a brand new opening, a giant opening to this new musical. And I was almost embarrassed to let anybody see it. I read it and I was like, oh God, I think this might be dreadful. And I put it away. Never played it for Kevin, never played it for anybody. I put it away. And that was like 4 months ago. And as we started to do this process again, I pulled it out again and I went, oh, that's pretty good. Wonder why I was so, and I thought, do I instantly think what I've written isn't good? It's something to really look at, and I really had to look at it. And now I am rewriting, chopping things, cutting things, just rewriting, because I've decided I don't care what y'all think. It's time for me to write what I think, what I want. And so that opening that I wrote is now the opening of the show. It's a giant new opening, and it'll be what it'll be. And if people tell me, I didn't like that opening, I'll be like, okay. We'll see what happens next time. Yeah. So, George Lucas said this, always remember, your focus determines your reality. So, my question to you today is, are you aware of what is determining your reality? Are you really aware of it? Are you really spending the time this month before you focus the camera? Make sure you understand what you're focusing on. What do you want to focus on? Don't let the world tell you what to focus on based on what the world thinks you're capable of. If I let the world tell me what I was capable of, I would have done 1/10 of what I've done in life. My AEP was always, whatever it is, I can do it. I remember when I got a show on Broadway, not on Broadway, off Broadway, and I was like, they asked me, can you walk a tightrope? I said, absolutely. Who walks a tightrope? I mean, why would I know that I could walk a tightrope? But I said yes. And I remember another job I went in for, and they said, can you do gymnastics? I said, absolutely. They said, you can do back handsprings and everything? I said, everything. I knew I could not do a back handspring. I could never do a back handspring. Every time I tried, I platzed. So I was like, they said, can you do a back handspring? I said, absolutely. Now, luckily, they didn't say, could you show us? And I got that job. And do you know it never came up? All through rehearsal, I kept waiting for the day they'd say, this is where the back handspring's going. Never came up. I never did a back handspring. So you should always say yes to everything in terms of what you want in life. Right, Steve?
That's the way you play poker, James.
And it worked. Yes, absolutely. That's it. So, retrospective embarrassment. I am so grateful to Becky that she showed up this weekend and that she found that picture for me and that we've had this talk, because it is time for all of us to untether ourselves from the things that do not support us. People, places, things, memories, assessments, regrets, embarrassments, none of those things. You know in your heart. You know which ones support you and which ones don't. You cannot focus from an unclear mind. You cannot focus from a garbled up mental acumen of what life is. You have to be clear, really clear. And you need to see clearly now, no matter what has happened, because it's going to be, and it already is, a bright, bright, sunshiny day. Namaste.